Alright everyone, hello! Welcome to another edition of Technique Tuesday. So today I want to talk to you about taking a flat slab object. So my walls on my vase here are very straight. This is from the template video last week. And what I want to show you is how to take this and try to make it a little more curvy and organic. And there's a few different ways that you can do that depending on what you're trying to achieve. So the one that you probably all know already is to use the paddle. Okay, we talked about this in the very beginning of the year when we did the hollow forms video. And you would think that using a flat paddle would result in getting flat shapes, and that can happen, but you can also use it to make round shapes. So if I want to take this, this is called the shoulder, okay? Mouth, neck, shoulder. This would be the belly or the body, and then foot. I can take this paddle, and if I pat this corner, it's starting to kind of round out and flatten. Now you want to do this while the object is kind of leather hard, everyone's favorite, leather hard. And you can see the difference here is the side that I've paddled, and here's the side that I have not paddled. So this is much more angular and this is much more curvy. So I'm going to go ahead and paddle all the way around this, and then I'll show you the next method. There you go, that shoulder is much more curved now. Another way you can do this to add shape or more curve to a slab built object is to try to stretch the clay. And this involves putting your hand inside, so you got to make sure that it's big enough on the inside, the opening is large enough so that you can get your hand in there, and pushing. My hand goes in this motion on the inside, kind of like, I don't know, sort of like you're petting an animal. So my hand's going to move in this motion on the inside of my pot. And then what I'm going to try to do is push this belly out down here at the bottom, the space between the shoulder and the foot. You can do this anywhere on the pot, but for what I'm trying to do, I want to take for the distance from here to here, and I would like it to curve out more. Okay, so here's my, let's remember before here, it's mainly straight, and what I'm going to do is curve the inside. So you can do this just with your hand. I also like to try to do it sometimes with a sponge. I think the sponge kind of helps distribute the force a little more. And I'm going to zoom a little bit. So I got my sponge, and my sponge is wet. It's not dripping, soaking wet, but it's wet. Again, I want to minimize friction just like when I'm working on the wheel. And I'm going to put my hand down in there carefully. Okay, so what I'm going to do, try to do on the side, is I'm going to push from the inside in a sweeping motion from the bottom to the top to try to curve that belly out. And I'm going to do it while rotating the vase so that I make sure that I am not doing one side and not another. I'm starting to get some cracks. Not a huge concern right now. I want to make sure I'm a little more gentle in those areas, and I will go back and smooth those out later. Because remember, the cracks are, what's happening is I'm stretching the clay out. And if this were a tiny bit softer, I think I might have let it dry a little too much. This might be a little easier, but I'll be able to smooth them out, no worries. And I'm just going back the other way and pushing out. I'm pretty pleased with that, frankly, so I'm going to stop. Get my hand out of here. It's a tight fit. I forgot my sponge. Alright, get my hand out of here. Okay. So, let me zoom back out. And so again, starting to get a much more organic shape along the bottom here. Now, if this has all been this was how to push it out. How do you make it go back in? Let me show you how to do that. The way you do that, you have to actually kind of remove some clay in order for it to go inward. And you do that by cutting what are called darts in the clay. I'm just going to draw them first. I'll use this guy. Alright, so the way that you do this, in the area that you want to make the clay kind of slope inward, you draw, I'm going to start with a straight line. And that's just going to be my guide to make sure it stays nice and straight. Now what I'm going to do is draw a line curving out and a line curving out the other way. So it kind of looks like a, maybe like a leaf on there. Okay, so that's the shape I want. And I'm going to do that evenly spaced all around the pot. I find the easiest way to make sure it's evenly spaced is to do them directly across from each other. So if I do one here, I follow up the top, go straight across. I know that right here, whoop, straight across from it. Okay, here's my first mark. My second one's going to be right here. And I'll draw another one, and you need them to be roughly the same size if you want this all to be nice and even, which you probably do. Okay? And then I want to do one 90 degrees, so I'm going to turn to here. I look down over the top of the pot, and if I've got two here, I can see that this is right about here is right in the middle, and that's where I want to add another. And again, I'm just drawing them on there first. I'm not going to start cutting into my pot until I've planned everything out. I don't want to have to, you know, make big fixes to things after I've cut clay out. That never goes real well. Okay. So I've cut out these leaf-shaped darts. And I'm just going to start with these 4. I can always add more if I feel like I need them. So here's what you do. Once you've got it mapped out where you want it, I'm going to actually remove that piece in that leaf shape. Okay, I'll make sure I push it out from the inside. I don't want it to get stuck in the inside of my vase here. And now what I'll do is I'm gonna score inside of here. My rib's a little challenging to get in there. Do the best I can. If I can't get in there with a rib, I'll take a needle tool and just do it with that. Making sure to really rough it up. Score, add some slip, and you squeeze those pieces together. Okay, this will be a little easier once I get all of them moving at once. So let me do all the other 3. So if I kind of squeeze all of them in together at once, so I'll squeeze this one a little bit, turn and squeeze, turn and squeeze, turn and squeeze. Okay, kind of working all sides at once. It makes the clay happiest. Turn and squeeze. Turn and squeeze. Okay, and I'm just squeezing them together. And I'm starting to get this shape. Now it's going to take some refining, so I'm just going to keep squeezing and turning and refining, being gentle with the clay as always. Like I said, don't force the clay if it doesn't want to go there. So give me a couple minutes. I'm going to go ahead and keep squeezing and turning, refining, scraping, doing what I need to do to make these pieces come together. You may need to take a serrated rib and go across them. This helps to distribute the clay. And then I can take a rubber rib and follow up with that. And that seam is starting to disappear. Sometimes it takes a couple of passes to get it to go away completely. That's okay. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is how to take the lip, and right now the lip of my vase is for the most part just going straight up, but I kind of think I'd like it to kind of flare out at the top. So all I'm going to do is kind of slide my fingers up while I'm pushing my thumbs out. I'm going to turn and continue to do that. Sliding my fingers up the side. Now, I can make the flare more dramatic if I don't just try to pull this part out. What I'm trying to do is push this in and pull this out at the same time. And that's gonna, the two working together will create a larger flare. Alright, so there you go. I've flared out the lip of my vase here. It's a more organic, more traditional shape than it was when I started. And at this point, all I would do is go through the smoothing process, which you all know how to do. So I'm going to go through that on super speed, and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, nice and smooth, looking good. Now I could begin doing decoration, sgraffito, incising, slip trail, any other decoration I'd like to add to this, and I would have a beautiful vase. So I hope that's helpful, and stay tuned for more Technique Tuesdays.